such a pleasure to be here. My name is Ben. I'm the founder and CEO of Urbify. And I will do nothing less right now than explain to you what the secret is of exceptional post-purchase experience. But let's start off giving you a little introduction to myself. So I used to work for larger corporations, Volkswagen Group. Then I joined Porsche Consulting, where I eventually found my love for logistics and the transportation as a service field. Built a couple of ventures for larger corporations. And then in 2019, we founded Urbify with the goal to create a premium delivery experience for everyone and push the boundaries in terms of post-purchase experience in the German and now, since last week, also in the Austrian market. So let's just briefly go through the story of online shopping, because I think everyone here in this room and at this conference can relate to exactly that. In the end, most retailers, whenever you visit a site and you want to shop something online, you go to the website and you're finding great shopping experiences. You have a curated product range. You have a great checkout experience. You have multiple options in terms of payment. But also you will see a couple of delivery options by now, so that retailers are using multi-carrier strategies in order to be more customer-centric. Sometimes even reward or loyalty programs with which you can incentivize and create loyalty and satisfaction among your customers. However, how it ends? We all know the situation that you're in the checkout, you're choosing your delivery option, and all of a sudden you realize there's not really a commitment in terms of when that delivery is coming, or it's a range of days on which you can presumably expect your parcel to be there. And then it's not very uncommon that there is a delay as well of your parcel or of your delivery. So you're waiting, and the parcel is not being delivered. Even worse so, sometimes you see a driver on some live tracking page, and all of a sudden you realize that the driver is passing by and you're not receiving your parcel. Then it's also not uncommon that you can pick up your parcel at a Pudo shop, which is ideally close by, but not necessarily. So sometimes you have to go a bit longer. Or you have the situation that your parcel gets lost in transit. And then you're wondering, okay, who has that parcel? Where's my parcel? And then a whole chain of events is actually accelerating from you, because you have to take care of where your parcel is and kind of figure out where things are coming from. And then last but not least, usually emissions are emitted with those deliveries. Sometimes they're offset, sometimes they're not. But essentially, that's also something that nowadays, with the customer expectations we're trying to fulfill, is something we need to consider. So if we look at that in a little more detail, we actually see that this post-purchase experience and what people are expecting from particular delivery solutions is crucial for increasing and accelerating the growth and development of your online shop. Especially when you don't have the right delivery options in place, there's actually a chance that people will drop out in the purchasing process and will not convert on your website. Plus, if there's not the right retailers with the right delivery option, you will also see that these retailers that actually have the preferred delivery solutions are actually favored against other retailers that do not have the preferred delivery solution at hand. And last but not least, if you're in a situation where you can shop and you have the ability to choose your preferred option, the likelihood of repurchasing also increases tremendously. So let's come back to what I just told you in terms of what the story in online shopping looks like and how we expect to rewrite it. Coming back to the shopping experience, we've already seen this. So you have a great curated product line. It's always great. You have different options, various checkout options. And you as a customer are in charge, and you can actually expect something great from your shopping experience. How it ends now with us is a little bit different. So we're really looking at what the customers want and what the customers expect nowadays. And it's, first of all, an extremely late cutoff. So it can be, in our network, as late as midnight. So can you imagine being in the evening and you're shopping online, and you can do that until midnight, and you're actually receiving your parcel with a delivery promise on the next day. And that across all German metropolitan areas. The great thing here is, if you were to introduce that, then you're actually reaching a next day delivery promise with 60% of the revenue, because that revenue usually takes place in the evening hours when the people are coming home from work. That's when they do their online shopping, when they're on the sofa. And 60% of that revenue usually does not have a next day delivery promise. For the very impatient ones, there's also a same day option, right? So you can do ship from store or local to local deliveries to even increase the speed. For some of our services, it's actually an operational same day, although from a customer perspective, it's a next day. The third point is evening delivery. So how do we achieve a great customer experience? Is we deliver when customers are actually at home. What does that mean? We deliver between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. With that, increasing the probability that the customer and the recipient is actually at home and we can successfully deliver. Plus, it's very important to have transparency about the whole process. So tracking is extremely important. We narrow down our expected time of delivery to 1 hour. So customers do not need to be around for a longer period of time at home, but they can actually plan their day around a 1 hour time delivery window, which is extremely comfortable and convenient. Last but not least, we are extending the electric fleet on our last mile step by step. We're at roughly 30% by now. But in the end, what do customers expect is a sustainable delivery. May not be 100% electric at the very beginning, but we're making sure that our deliveries are all carbon neutral on the last mile. We believe that for online shops to be successful, delivery mustn't be a necessary evil that you have to deal with and that you have to go through, but it can actually be a seamless step in the entire shopping experience and can differentiate an online shop, your online shop, from a different online shop and really increase your competitive advantage. So that's our expectation, that's our vision of how we believe delivery should look like. And let's be a part of the process and not just something that you need to go through in order to have your products and orders delivered to the customers. And now coming to the 7 ingredients of exceptional post-purchase experience. Kind of is like Elon Musk sharing his patents because he wants electric vehicles to be picked up. So we want to share this because we believe if everybody knows this and everybody is working along this, I think we can actually have a greater impact because everyone is focusing on what we're doing as well. So, to give you an overview, it sounds a bit soft at first, but I will come to that, and that is actually very hard facts that we're talking about here. The first thing is dedication. Second is customer centricity, control, speed, flexibility, reliability, and transparency. What I mean by that, I will show you now in more detail. So dedication. What we've seen in the industry is that there's somewhat of a misalignment between retailers and carriers. The interests are not always on the same page, and that usually causes friction. So, for instance, the retailer has the objective to have the parcel delivered to the customer and have the parcel delivered in the hand of the customer. I mean, it's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. However, if we then look at the carrier structure and the contracts that retailers are signing with carriers, it's a lot about delivery attempts. About, yeah, we can drop this off later, maybe I'm not committing a particular runtime and these kinds of things. That's not what you're expecting. You actually have to create an alignment of interests for a great customer experience. And for us, that means you have to commit to a particular delivery success, ideally on the next day. And that's what you have to deliver. And then you have an alignment between the retailer and the carrier, and both are committed and dedicated in order to make that work. And that's how you can create, in the very first step, a greater customer experience. If you have that misalignment, there will be friction and there will be situations where it's just very difficult to properly create a customer experience that is to your satisfaction as a retailer. Next one. Customer centricity. I'm not sure how many of you have recently called one of the hotlines of any carrier and made the experience that it wasn't quite helpful for you, because essentially the information that was shared is exactly the same information you can find in the tracking, right? So how does that really help you? It doesn't really solve your problem when you're in need. So we've changed that because we believe it is our obligation to ensure that the customer centricity and the customer wishes are met and they can actually be influenced along the way. So we are having a customer service, but we call them an operational control center. So customers that are in need of any changes or there's some concerns about a delivery, you can actually reach out to us directly and you are landing in our operational control center. We're not hiding our telephone number. We're not hiding our email addresses. We are proactively communicating these things because customers want these problems to be solved immediately. And that's why we want to have the direct connection. So you can reach out, and these guys are not just sitting there and telling you what you can find in your tracking, but they can actually proactively influence what's happening with your parcel. They know which driver has the parcel on the car. They have direct contact through telephone or chat with the drivers. They can immediately edit your orders, either postpone them to a different day or add delivery information that's relevant for your delivery to be successful. And that enables us to really generate a proper delivery experience and ensure that your customers are really up to the highest satisfaction and create a differentiation to other shops online. Then another very important part of this is control. Control not in a negative sense, but it means that the more you can control in-house, the better. And we as Urbify essentially launched as a technology company. And then we decided, okay, we will do the operational logistics part as well. And the advantage we have, we're drinking our own Kool-Aid. So we are developing technology that we are also using. And that's why we influence it in a way that we actually can make the job work. And that also allows us to, of course, accelerate integrations, consider particular customer wishes from a retailer side, but also from the recipient side, and build a technology that's really catering to the needs of retailers and recipients alike. Plus, of course, you need the processes, especially when you're working with the speed that we do. I'll come to that in a second. You need lean and flexible processes in order to make sure that you can cope with any changes in volume, but also make sure that the processes you have in place work reliably. Last but not least, when we talk about integrations, we're not only talking about the integrations towards the retailer side, but we're also talking about the integrations to the partners that we're working with in the logistics space. And here it is very important to also have a comprehensive integration, including training, including quality assurance, in order to make sure that the service can perform at the level that we're claiming it does and we're delivering it. Therefore, it really has to be made sure that these integrations work, that everybody knows what they're doing, and this control can only be made sure if you are actually in charge of these things. And if you hand them over to someone else, it's going to be difficult to ensure that. Coming to the next topic of speed. That's another key topic in order to create an exceptional post-purchase experience. I mean, anyone here, it's probably the right thing to say, is nobody wants to wait 3, 4, 5, let alone a week for a parcel or for an online order. And what we have created is a process and a setup where we can actually create an order to delivery in less than 16 hours from a central injection point in Germany to all German metropolitan areas. So we're talking about roughly 50 cities plus Vienna, as I said at the beginning. And then at 16 p.m. or 4 p.m., the deliveries actually start. And again, coming back to the evening delivery time slots, that's when you have the highest probability of actually meeting the customer and being able to hand over the parcel. Next point is flexibility. I think everybody knows we're living in a very dynamic environment, and sometimes things are just not plannable. Of course, you have a plan, but then it's being thrown over because you're meeting up with a friend, or maybe you want to go to the gym and don't want to wait for your parcel. So the flexibility is here for the customer to be in charge and changing things also on the last minute. Right? So rescheduling, for instance, if you are unavailable on that very day when the delivery is meant to happen, let it be address changes that need to be conducted. Of course, there's some limitations to physical geography. We can't teleport a parcel from Munich to Berlin. That's not possible. But if you're within Munich and you've moved, you can easily change your address, or you want to have it delivered to a friend. That's also not a problem. Plus, you have a preferred neighbor option and, of course, a safe place option. So it's all about, making sure that the customer finds the right option in that very moment that customer is in order to increase the delivery success, but also the satisfaction in terms of options. This is actually the second last. So reliability. I think this is also very important in all of communication, and this is not just the communication between a carrier and a recipient. Let's be honest and let's be reliable. So if I provide a statement, if I provide a promise, and I'm not keeping that promise, where's trust going to come from, right? So it's really, really important that if you make the claim of having a delivery promise on the next day, you have to keep it and have to do everything possible in order to keep it. And only then you can actually make sure that your customers are satisfied. That, of course, goes hand in hand to ensure that the operations work accordingly, right? If they break down, very difficult. But it's also a topic of technology. I mean, we work with many different partners as well, also in grocery, for last mile grocery deliveries and stuff like that. And what we do see is that the daily routines are somewhat hampered with as soon as technology breaks down or has a little bit of downtime. So that's something that you really have to keep in mind. Coming back to the point before, if you can't control it and you're dependent on a third party to fix your IT problem, good luck. Coming to the last bit, transparency. In order to ensure great customer experience and also ensure that the delivery is conducted successfully, transparency is key. So we're talking about live tracking, we're talking about narrow delivery windows, and we're talking about a precise and reliable customer communication. Of course, these are just examples. We're talking about SMS notification, email notification. Again, this can be in a branded fashion or an unbranded fashion. Really, just depends on the needs and wishes of the retailer. But we're highly flexible in providing that. The live tracking, to be fair, is something that we're going to implement this year. We're working on it right now, and will probably soon be launched. And that's, like say, the last step in terms of creating the full transparency for customers in order to assess when the delivery will arrive. And we kind of have the expectation, or we have the goal to go into a direction like a Volt or like an Uber on how precise those deliveries will be conducted. So now you're asking yourself, okay, this is all good and well. What are the benefits for me as a retailer? And the point is pretty straightforward. If you have a great post-purchase experience, and that could be a combination of not just the delivery, but it could also be customer service, it could also be returns. These kinds of things are highly important. And if you do have a really premium solution, like for instance Urbify, you can create a real differentiation to other shops because you are quicker from production to from order to delivery, and it's just reducing a lot of other strains that you may have. Higher customer satisfaction and loyalty is the next topic, right? So if you really have a great delivery promise and you keep up with that promise, you will have a higher customer satisfaction and loyalty. So the repurchasing rate is increasing tremendously as well. Third point is fewer returns. I'm not sure if that's something that people have looked into, but the shorter the delivery time from order to delivery, it actually reduces the chances or the probabilities that things are being returned. I mean, it makes sense, but in the end, if you take too long of a time in order to deliver those parcels, the return rates actually increase. And the last point, it's something that I already touched upon in the presentation, is the customer service that we provide. So we assume the responsibility of making sure that the customers are receiving their parcels successfully, and therefore classical Wismo requests that are usually ending up at the retailer side, they're ending up with us because we are also the ones that need to solve it. It doesn't really make sense to have the customer reach out to the retailer, have the retailer reach out to us, and then we're solving the problem. It's inefficient. That's not what we do. We also, as a technology company, want to go beyond logistics, and this is kind of like an outlook. It's nothing that we have implemented yet. But what we do see when we look at the data is that the opening rates for tracking pages is outrageous. So their customers, they're opening those emails so often, so regularly, and we believe that this number is even going to increase once we have integrated our live tracking. And why don't we just make use of that attention that we receive from the customers? And I mean, this could be a great opportunity for you as a retailer because you know exactly who that customer is. Why not, have some products there, some suggestions for the next purchase? And you can directly use that space and use that attention to create another conversion. We call this the track and trace advertisement. And it's something that we are really keen to discuss with our current customers, but of course also with potential customers in the future. Last but not least, I think we're also going a little bit of different way because we are now combining technology and operations, co-branded vehicles. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You can see our co-branded vehicle with ASOS on the left-hand side, or right-hand side for you guys, sorry. And it's a pretty cool feature for you guys to get attention, to see visibility also in the streets of a retailer brand where you usually wouldn't be. And those vehicles are running up to 10 hours a day, and it's emission-free, of course. And that's something that's a great opportunity. We're happy to make sure that customers have that experience as well. Now, maybe a little overview on where we stand right now. We are, in fact, the #1 premium delivery network in Germany and Austria. Those are the areas and regions we're active today. I can only underline that all these locations that we're showing here are active and live. So unlike some other, let's say, neo carriers, where you can see similar maps, this is actually something that is already in action. So as soon as you care to visit one of our sites, feel free to reach out to us, and we can arrange that ideally tomorrow to take care of that. This is, in general, we have those 12 locations, so we're covering a little more than 50 cities across Germany, 20 million inhabitants, and I think the key number on this slide is actually the bottom one, which is 60% of e-commerce purchasing power. Because it's great that some carriers can actually reach customers that are sitting on an island in the north of Germany. That's great, but if these guys are not ordering online, they're not your customers, and therefore it's also not necessary for us to reach them. So we're really having a good coverage here, and can make sure that it makes sense to also integrate us as a multi-carrier strategy. And I think, 10,000 parcels a day on an average, and 1,000 postcodes. How to start with us? Super easy integration. Don't want to bore you with this, but it's a key topic in order to move forward and be quick on things. So there's plenty of players and partners we're working with, and if there's not an integration existing yet, that's no issue for us. We are more than happy to run through the integrations as well. As I said, we are a technology company. Very simple for us to get those things done quickly. And now, I'm really looking forward to questions.
All right. You hear me?
Yeah.
You talk about fast deliveries and late deliveries, and I think that's very good. Do you also believe in slow fashion and delivering in 3 or 4 days if it's not urgent, or is it something completely different for your business model? But what do you think about this vision of delivery, because not everything is urgent?
That's a fair point. I think it's, as you said, there's a need for fast delivery. There may be a need where it's not necessarily has to be fast. The thing is, for us, we believe in terms of being a premium service as we are, it's very important to have that speed component within your service. So that doesn't necessarily mean that we are immediately a substitute for, let's say, general and established carriers that may have longer run times. but we are positioned in a situation where we say, okay, this is a premium product, and therefore we need that speed in order to make that happen. Plus, also, we have a network that we're operating, which is not, let's say, coping with standard volume, I would call it, because it's just a very different ball game when you have plenty of parcels. You're not in the need of making sure that these are delivered quickly, but it's rather about efficiency. And for us, we say, okay, let's leave the efficiency not completely aside, but let's leave it to the side a little bit and focus on the speed and the convenience. But you're absolutely right. Is it for every product? No. Is it for every single customer? Probably not. But there is a segment there where we are positioned in with all the big fashion brands we're working with, like Zara or ASOS. There's a share of the customers that really would like to have this prime or premium experience, and we can offer that. Is it the full pie? No, it's rather a small piece of the pie. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I want to ask you, in case the customers are actually able to redirect the order and to request a second delivery attempt for a different day.
So that option is available, and it doesn't really affect our operations that much because with us, we also have a very transparent pricing towards the retailer, which means that a second delivery attempt is already included in our pricing. So given a situation that a delivery may already be out for delivery for the first delivery attempt, customer realizes, oh, I may not be at home. Can I postpone to tomorrow or maybe the day after? He or she can do it, and then we will have, so to say, the second delivery attempt to make sure that the delivery is actually conducted successfully. For us, in the end, the most important aspect in all of this is to make sure that we have this delivery success and that customers receive their parcel. I mean, in the end, it's not making much sense to say like, okay, we cannot do it or we don't want to do it, and the result is that the customer doesn't receive the parcel. We would have to return it to the retailer. Doesn't aid anyone, and therefore we have that considered in our pricing, which is good, and therefore we can easily make that happen. As I said at the beginning, we can teleport, but as soon as you're just redirecting within one city, that's something we can make work.
I was quite curious about a thing you said about the link between the return rate and the delays you display on the website. You said that if it's very short, like same-day delivery, you decrease the return rate.
Yeah, I mean, there's those numbers. Those numbers, they're not from us. So those numbers are from experiences and studies. But what you would see is that if you, for instance, making an order for a particular event, so let it be a wedding, let it be a birthday party or something like that, and you're making your order, and all of a sudden that event has passed and you have not received whatever you wanted to wear or whatever you needed, then you may just say, okay, I'm going to return it because I don't need it anymore, so to say. So if the occasion, so to say, has passed because delivery was too late, then would return it. Best example in our preparation for this fair, we had a couple of things that we ordered. They weren't ordered or they weren't delivered on time. We don't need it, so we would return it. Right? Cool. Thank you.